Welcome back to the Sideline Live podcast. You can follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. On episode 79, I'm delighted to be joined by the first NCAA Division I legally blind athlete and former NFL free agent Aaron Golub. This is our second edition of the Leadership Series. On this episode, we discuss sport and business, non-negotiables, daily habits, success, and so much more. I hope you enjoy. Thanks a million for joining me on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Before we get into everything, would you mind giving your elevator pitch to the listeners who might not know who you are?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Aaron Golub. I became the first legally blind Division I athlete to play in a game when I played football at Tulane University. Went on to become a team captain and an NFL free agent, and now I'm an entrepreneur and a speaker.
Very good. So you started American football. What age were you and what kind of led you to that?
Yeah, I started probably around 13 years old or so. And, it was just something where I tried a lot of sports growing up. Nothing really stuck, wasn't really great at any of them. And I had an interest in football, wanted to play. It, in the beginning, wasn't very good at all, was terrible, but, decided to stick with it to be a part of the team and learn.
You spoke about it before in a previous podcast. I think it was your sophomore year, you were the third string defensive lineman. What changed for you beyond that point? What kind of decision did you make to become a Division I athlete?
Yeah, it was a couple things. First off, finding the right position. I knew that in the position I was currently in, I couldn't make it to where I wanted to go. And, I had to find the right opportunity. The second aspect for me was I'd always worked hard. I'd always lifted weights and did what I could and, extra, but it was working even harder. And I realized that if I wanted to be as good as other people to make it to the level that I wanted to make it to, I had to work 10 times harder than everyone else. And that, involved getting up at 5 a.m. every day, lifting weights every single day after school, doing whatever I could to get better.
Okay. And when you're going through the initial stages of that and waking up at 5 and doing the weights, and we all know that you don't see the results straight away, what's that like going through the hard, I kind of call it like Drew Hanlon's unseen hours?
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult process, especially when not many other people are around. Not many people think that you can do it. And, for me, it was that belief that I knew that I could accomplish this goal if I worked at it. And for me, it was, I'm not trying to do this to prove anyone else, wrong. I'm trying to do this to prove myself right. And because of that, I had the drive and the ambition to continuously keep going.
And when did you start to see the results of your hard work?
Yeah, I think my senior year was when it really became a reality. I, was ranked very highly as an athlete, as a in my position, and I started talking to Division I schools. And I think that was the point where I was like, "This is going to happen. I'm going to make it happen."
Okay, very good. And I heard you spoke about before. I think it was a podcast, maybe a TED talk, but you kind of said time is currency. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Yeah, we all have a certain amount of hours in the day. And yeah, you can increase your hours by hiring more people if you're in business or whatever. But what do you do with your time to get the most out of it? Time is the most valuable asset that we have. You can always go out and make more money. There's always more ways that you can make more money. You can never get your time back. And so being very specific with what you do with your time, who you spend your time with, what you're trying to accomplish is really important to me because I have very specific goals and I'm not trying to waste my time on tasks on things that don't move the needle forward. I'm not trying to spend time with people that I genuinely don't care about or don't want to, work with or help them or contribute to, our collective, goals. I like helping people, but, I think the better way to phrase that is, I want to be very precise of who I spend my time with. I don't want to spend my time with people who don't have high ambitions, who don't have high goals, who, just want to sit there and do nothing. And so for me, it's being very specific of what I do with my time and who I spend that with.
Okay, that's interesting. There's always, the quote, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. When you get to Division I level athlete, how much talent does it take versus hard work to get to that level? Is there a percentage breakdown that you could kind of put it into?
I've met a lot of people who played Division I football who have a lot of talent and don't work that hard. So I think, look, there's a combination of both of those things. If you're very, very talented, you can make it with minimal work. If you're not talented, then you have to work extremely hard.
Okay.
And there is a combination of that. That being said, the people who are extremely talented, they might have made the team. but maybe they didn't work super hard while they were at school. And so maybe they were, just a backup and didn't really play. So eventually they're going to see that line. They're going to not be able to progress to the next level. Those are the guys who, definitely didn't make it to the NFL also, things like that. But you can make it to a certain level with just talent alone, but eventually it's going to prohibit you from moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And what's it like going to college? Talk us through the initial kind of start, your first season there.
Yeah, it was halfway across the country. It was great. I really enjoyed the experience. And, going in, I assumed I was the bottom of, the chain, bottom of the ladder again. I was there to learn, there to grow, there to build up my team and help however I could. And, keep my head down, work hard, and do whatever I could to earn my spot or my opportunity. And that's what I did in the beginning. And eventually I played for the first time during my sophomore season at Tulane.
Okay. And it's kind of nearly my mission on the podcast to find the answer to this, but what makes an elite player, what do you think is just that separator for the best players from the rest of the pack?
Yeah, I think it's how you read situations and how you, present yourself. I think that, how do you think about what's going on? Do you look 5 steps ahead, or are you focusing on, right this second? And yeah, being present is fantastic. You need to be present, but at the end of the day, I'm always focusing, not only just on what I need to do right now, what are the steps I need to take to get to my next goal, to accomplish this, to get better, whatever it may take. And I think that the players who achieve the most success in sports, the people who achieve the most success in business and in life, are the ones who have their goals, have their priorities, do stay present, but at the same time, understand that they need to take other steps and they need to focus on those other steps that are ahead of them and have a plan for the future.
Okay, very good. You were the first legally blind student athlete to play an NCAA Division 1 football game. What's it like being a role model? And I think you were still in university when somebody reached out to you. I think it was somebody's mum and their child reached out and they visited you in college.
Yeah, it's always amazing whenever I can give back, whenever I can help, someone who's, whether it be going through a similar situation or just someone who's struggling with their own challenges. I one of the biggest reasons I got into speaking was to help and impact others. And it's amazing being able to do that, whether it be on stage at an event or on a podcast to listeners like this, or just when I was playing football, the people who saw me from the stands, and using my story to help others is, incredible. And I love being able to do that.
Mm-hmm. You did a pair of goggles, I think, that you gave to a couple of teammates. What was the reaction for those looking through your lens and seeing? I think they commented on how little they could see, and their admiration really grew for you. But what was the reaction afterwards when they tried the goggles?
Yeah, I think it just gives a greater understanding of my actual field of vision. And so, it can be anyone. It can be anyone who spends a lot of time with me. Take, my girlfriend, for example. I, for some reason, had never specifically shown her those goggles for a long time. I don't know why. I just, they were hidden away somewhere. I hadn't taken them out in a long time. And for some reason, at one point, someone asked to see them and I took them out, and she also tried them on, and, I showed her, and it just allowed for a greater understanding. So even people who spend a lot of time with me, having the ability to see kind of, similar to what I see really helps and allows them to understand better.
You were named a captain in college. How do you lead, and what would be your style of leadership as a captain?
Yeah, lead by actions. Show people that you are willing to put in the work, you're willing to do whatever it takes, and you can impact through your actions and through your leadership there. I think I'm not a big fan of leaders who just talk and talk and talk, and then that's it. I think there's a lot of people like that, and if you're not willing to do something, if you're not willing to do a task, then why should someone else do it? I'm a big believer in that. And so, you need to learn to do the grunt work in the beginning, because if you don't have experience there, if you don't do that, if you're not willing to do that, why should anyone else do that?
Okay, very good. When you look through business and sport, what do you think are the common values or teaching points that are within those two areas?
Yeah, I think hard work is definitely a big one. I think so many people don't understand that concept also. I think a lot of people think that, you can put an X amount of effort and, be fairly successful. And they just don't understand that if you're trying to build a really successful business or become a professional athlete or whatever it may be, the amount of hard work and dedication that takes is, early mornings, late nights. And I'm not saying that you have to do that forever, but for a long time in the beginning, you have to do that to build something up. You have to be creative. You need to find what is the best solution for you. For me, it was finding a new position in football, and in business, it's finding my niche to, allow me to create, revenue. And how am I going to be creative every day to disrupt industries? And I think also learning to not listen to others' opinions. So many people in football and business in all aspects of life are too concerned about what others think. And because of that, they're not willing to take a first step. They're not willing to take a risk. They're not willing to put themselves out there. And that becomes an issue because that causes them not to, take that step, achieve their goals, whatever it may be. But if you can learn to separate yourself and understand that what someone else thinks, whatever their opinions are, doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect you. The only person's opinions that matter is your own. Then you're willing to put yourself out there. You're willing to take that risk. You're willing to do whatever it takes. And by contrast, you will take that first step and you will more likely accomplish your goals.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to those that might be listening that are really, nearly shackled by other people's opinions? Is there any particular advice or even a technique that you would recommend?
Just start now. Just take a risk. Like it's not going to be the end of the world. If you fail, it's okay. If it's hard for you, it's okay. You can always do something else. You can always try something else. You can always do it in a different way, but just start something. It doesn't matter what it may be. If you're, at home and you say, hey, I'm, struggling, I want to lose weight or get more active. Like you don't need to jump in and go to the gym 7 days a week. Go for a walk. Like just start small. Just do something that gets you out there, that gets you a little bit outside of your comfort zone, and continue to build on that. I think so many people are stuck in their comfort zone. And when you can learn to accept and be uncomfortable on a regular basis, then you'll grow.
Speaking of starting, you do have your own podcast. What was the thinking behind it, and how have you found it? Is there any particular lessons or takeaways you've learned from it?
Yeah, it's something that isn't really currently active. Actually, I actually just released an episode recently that was recorded probably 6 months ago. But I think I learned a lot of really good lessons from incredible entrepreneurs, speakers, athletes, and I think the common denominator is, put in the work, put in the effort, and if you consistently are disciplined and do what you need to do over time, you will be successful. It's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. But if you continuously, send out cold emails every day, make cold calls every day, create content every day, whatever it may be, you will eventually see success in some form. I promise you that. So many people in the sales perspective, let's just say, because I do a lot of that within, my business is, how do I get paid to speak? How do I book speeches? I do cold outreach. Yes, I have inbound stuff, but I do cold outreach. And someone will come to me and say, hey, Aaron, I sent 100 emails, didn't get, a response, I'm down in the dumps. All right, well, go send 100,000 more and you'll get there. Like people don't understand scale. Like you're not going to get a response. You're not going to get there by putting an inch in. You need to go 15 miles and eventually you'll get success. And then eventually when you see one, you'll see two, and it will compound.
Okay, very good. And speaking of success, it's a common question I have on the podcast, but what is your personal definition of success?
Fulfillment. I think that, yeah, I want to help other people. I want to make a lot of money. I want to, have happiness. I want to have an incredible, body and fitness and be healthy. But at the end of the day, it's fulfillment. It's combining all of those things. So many people focus on one area. They say, how can I make more money, more money, more money? Or I want this nice house or this nice car, or I want to solely be in shape. And then, they look, 10 years from now, they have a lot of money, but they're unhealthy, not happy, don't have good relationships. Or, maybe they only prioritized, other things where they have good relationships and, they're healthy, but they did nothing in the world of business and, are struggling to get by. And there's a balance there. There's a balance that allows you to achieve success in all things. And for me, that's fulfillment. I want to achieve success in all areas. It's not just business. It's not just relationships. It's not just health. It's all areas.
Okay, very good. in terms of your public speaking, and you go to conferences, I've watched a couple of your TED Talks as well. How do you think, what's it like starting out as a public speaker, and how do you find it going up and speaking with a large group, and even in terms of improvement, how do you think you've evolved as a speaker?
I think that I've improved a lot and I have a long way to go. When I look at videos of me from, whether it be a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, you know, the difference is incredible. And the more you speak, the more you do, the better you'll get. And there's so many simple ways to do that, whether it be starting your own podcast and talking on a regular basis, going on other podcasts and talking, doing speeches for free. I think that's a huge thing. So many people in the beginning in any type of business are not willing to work for free. And that's the wrong way to think about it, because no one's going to pay you to do something if you don't have experience. And so if you're not willing to work for free in the beginning and get testimonials, you're never going to get paid to do something.
Okay, very good. I did read online, you were saying before, kind of, I don't wake up at 5 a.m. because it's cool or because I want to. I wake up at 5 a.m. because I hate doing it. Can you explain that one?
Yeah, I think there's to unpack that more. Yeah. I mean, first off, I don't like waking up at 5 a.m. because of that stuff. I don't like doing it. I wouldn't say that's the main reason, and maybe I'll kind of change the quote there. I think first off, to go on that, doing things that you don't like doing things that make you uncomfortable are good to go do on a regular basis. I think that it helps you grow, it helps you improve. For me, the biggest reason I work out at that time, honestly, I love working out, but the biggest reason is because no one else is awake between the hours of like 5 and 7, and I can work out without a single text or email or call coming through, and it's just like my quiet time. Like that's if that was at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., then that's when I would work out, trust me. But I like to work out without distractions, when no one's going to reach out to me, when I can just relax. And because it's that time, that's when I do it. So
That's fair. Yeah, totally. Is there any other daily habits or routines that you would follow? I know, how often would you even send cold emails?
I do emails every day, but I don't sit there and do it myself. I have a whole system built out where I'll have, hundreds or thousands of emails, going out every day. I have emails sending right now while we're on this podcast because I've, built automatic systems that do it for me. And so, when it comes to like personal routines, yeah, I do make an effort to, practice gratitude every day, meditate, read, work out, those types of things. When it comes to business, it's just, what are the things that are going to move you forward? And so, whether that be making sure you show up powerfully on all your sales calls, whether that be sending cold emails in the beginning, you don't need to build a system like I have until you're really scaling. You don't need to do that yet, but, just the simple things, maybe it's responding to all my emails. One of my non-negotiables is go on LinkedIn every day and respond to all my messages. Like, it's so simple to just do that, because I need to stay engaged with other people. I need to respond to messages about work, about business, and explore new opportunities. But I think some people just let that stuff slide. Oh, they sent me an email, they sent me a message, I'll respond in a week. Like, no, time block some time and get back to the people who are trying to get in contact with you.
Okay. What would be your other non-negotiables?
On the personal or business side, or either or?
Either or.
Yeah, on the personal side, like I said, some of them so far, like meditating, reading, working out. But just, I mean, this is a ridiculous one. My girlfriend makes fun of me every day, but I drink right now 135 ounces of water a day. I have an app on my phone that tracks it. I have literally like a smart water bottle, and I've done it for 110 days straight. And I'm so regimented about it. And it's, at this point, it's not about drink. I mean, like, look, you should drink a lot of water. It's healthy to do. That's great.
Yeah.
At this point, it's like, I don't want to break that streak. Like, yeah, if you're at like 5-10 days, like whatever. At this point, it's like, I'm not letting 110 days go by me. So that's kind of a ridiculous one. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of things like that.
That's funny. I love the way it comes up on an app as well. That just makes you makes you want to keep going as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's literally a smart. Well, I actually have to get a new water bottle right now. I have to manually enter them. I broke my water bottle, but it's a company called like Hydrate Spark. I need to reach out to them and try and get sponsored by them. Honestly, it's like, it's my favorite thing in the world. I can't. There's no product that I honestly love more than it. It brings me so much. It's so much fun for me to be like, oh, I'm at 60 ounces right now. I've got to drink another 75.
Brilliant. In terms of sport and business, I suppose, there's a couple of Irish athletes, there's a good few basketball players in the States and in other sports, and something that I've talked to them about is kind of sport as a business, and I think particularly at the college level. Was there any sort of realisation for you that when you were in college, or maybe you were your former NFL free agent, what's it like navigating sport as a business and learning that it really is a business at that level?
I think two things. First off, I think that I wish I knew more of, what I knew today back then. And, that's
Okay.
just about growing, and you learn and grow. And if I knew everything I knew today, had the skills that I had today, I would be 15 years ahead of where I am right now if I knew that 5 years ago, just because of the compound effect starting when I was younger, what I could have done for myself, for branding, for social media, for getting myself out there even more. It would have been incredible. But I think when it comes to treating it as a business, like, first off, it is a very demanding thing. If you're a student athlete, you're a student and you're an athlete, but there's more to it. There's a unique opportunity that you have there that most people don't see. And I didn't see it fully at that age either. I was doing a lot of interviews and stuff because my coaches would ask me to, because my story, and I was willing to do all of them, but it wasn't something I ever seeked out. And if I had thought big picture back then, I could have done what I'm doing now back then, actively gone after things and started a business while I was in school. And I think the biggest thing is look at the big picture. Like, if you are in a place right now in your life, whether you're an athlete, whether you're in business, whatever your position is, if you have an opportunity to have influence on other people, why not look at the macro view and see what you can do with it to help other people, to start an opportunity for yourself to make your life better? Like, I wish I knew that back then. I don't regret anything because I learned a lot along the way. But that would be my advice to someone who's in that similar position, is like, start now. There's no reason you shouldn't. It's just going to help you down the road.
Mm-hmm. And particularly at the moment with the new rules with the NCAA that athletes are allowed to take on sponsorships, partnerships, that seems to be a real game changer at the moment.
Oh my God. If I was there when that would have been so much fun for me, because I don't know. I'd really have to sit down and think about it. I don't know how I would have done it. I don't know if I honestly would have taken on a lot of sponsors or not, because the way I probably would have done it is tried to do what I do now and create a brand around myself and monetize that brand publicly. I think it depends on the athlete. It depends if you want to do that, because that takes a lot of work. But I think if we were allowed to do that stuff when I was in college, I don't think I would have honestly taken on sponsors. I probably would have created a brand around myself like I'm doing now, and tried to monetize it back then.
Okay, interesting. And in terms of sport or business, what's the biggest lesson you've learned from everything, from building your brand, from becoming a Division One athlete? What stands out for you?
Yeah, I think that it takes time, and patience is key, is definitely a big one. So many people want the results now, today, tomorrow, whatever. And you have to learn that, your actions, your disciplines compound, and eventually you'll see success. It doesn't happen overnight as much as we all want it to. And it's frustrating to me. I'm sure it's frustrating to everyone listening to this, that you can't accomplish your goals today. Like, look, if I could go make $1 million tomorrow speaking or doing whatever, I would. Who wouldn't? But it doesn't happen that way. And learning and understanding patience is critical.
I read online, I think it was a tweet you did, you put out about planning, and you said at the end of every quarter you plan out what would my life look like in 90 days. Can you explain that method, and where did you come up with that? It's very clever.
Yeah. So, I have big picture goals that I want to focus on, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. But most people see goals better in 90-day segments. So yeah, I have my goals for 2022 for what I want to accomplish, how I want to get there. But when I see those, I break them down to 90-day segments. Okay, I want to do, X by the end of the year. What do I need to do in Q1 to get myself closer there? And then I break that down even further. What do I need to do in January to get closer there? What do I need to do this week to get closer there? What do I need to do this day to get closer there? And it's focusing on those smaller areas and make it a lot more realistic to most people. I have goals and numbers that I want to hit for the year that are massive, and they seem overwhelming at times. But when you break it down to like, okay, I only need to do this today, or this week, or this month, like that's doable. And when you see success and you get momentum, it compounds, and momentum carries, momentum continues to go.
What are your goals for 2022? Are you willing to share any on a public platform?
I'm not going to share any numbers, but goals are just to continue to grow my businesses, to continue to, you know, get my name out there and be one of the, most sought after and top speakers in the world, and grow into that type of brand. And those are kind of the goals I'm striving for right now. And then there's obviously a lot more within there, breaking it down, but those are the overarching ones.
Brilliant. I'm going to ask you for a book, podcast, and a social media recommendation. Is there anyone, particularly on social media, that you find valuable, that you would recommend our listeners to give a follow?
Yeah, on social media, it's I feel like a very common one. I'm definitely a big fan of like Gary Vee. I feel like he gives great content, great advice, and realistic advice for people. Like, look, if you have a hobby that like you like that seems weird, like you can make money from it, and he shows you that that's possible and it's true, and I think his content's amazing.
Brilliant. Is there any particular book or podcast that would stand out for you?
Yeah, for books, I think one of my favorites is probably Atomic Habits by James Clear, and that really breaks down how do you get to your goals, and how do you do that through building habits on a daily basis. And it's something everyone should read. It's really the compound effect, and I could simplify it in a paragraph. It's essentially the compound effect. And, start small, get big, but there's a lot more to it, and it's a very powerful book to read. I think definitely one of my favorite podcasts is Ed Milet's. I think he's a great guy, great person, and he has on some really interesting guests. You know, it's not it's not something that I listen to every week though. It's something where like when I'm looking for a podcast to listen to, I hardly ever, listen to someone's podcast consistently week over week over week. It's more like I'm looking for an interesting guest, interesting person to learn from. And that might be on, a top show that I've listened to several times, or that might be a really small podcast that someone unique that I'm trying to learn a little bit from. And so I'm more focused on who is the guest, and how can I learn from them a little bit.
Okay, that's really interesting. I'm going to move on to the Sideline 7. It's the same 7 questions at the end of every episode. Question 1, what is your favourite quote?
This is definitely a tough one. I honestly, and sorry for this answer, I don't think I really have a favorite quote. I'm really bad at remembering them. But I think my biggest thing is, whatever I can say to help impact someone new today or tomorrow is my next favorite quote.
Okay, brilliant. Question 2, what's the best sporting event you've been to? And that can be as a player or as a fan. It's up to you.
Yeah, there was one game that we played Louisiana Lafayette, and beat them in triple overtime. And that was a really fun and exciting game, just how tense it was, how exciting it was. So I really enjoyed that one.
Is there any particular sporting event on your bucket list?
I mean, I want to go to a Super Bowl one day. That's probably the number one, event. I definitely want to go to a Super Bowl one day.
What's been the biggest setback or challenge so far in your career, and how did you react to it?
Yeah, I think there's been so many different setbacks and challenges. It's just, whether it be probably just a specific business relationship that didn't really work out, and, had to start things from scratch. And I think that we all get put in those positions from time to time, and understanding that relationships don't always last forever, and that's okay.
Kind of on the flip side then, what's your biggest achievement on or off the pitch?
Yeah, I think when it comes to playing as an athlete, it was when I was named a captain my senior year. I think that was incredible. And then, in the world of business, honestly, anytime a conference or a company reaches out to me and I'm not the one reaching out to them, and they say, hey, we want to have you come speak, it's an incredible honor and humbling. And that's always an achievement in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. Looking back, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Start now. Just start and fail. Like, I don't care if you start and you lose some money. I don't care if you start and, fail at something. If you mess up, just start and figure it out. Because if you start at 18, the chances of you having a successful business by 25 is pretty likely if you try new things, and you try different fields and just keep learning every day.
Who would be your dream dinner guest and why? And you can open the table to a few people here if you want.
Yeah, Definitely a tough one. I'd say I've been asked this question before in the sense of like, who are three people? And so I'll give three people. I think my favorite, my people that I would want to have dinner with would probably be Rick Dalio, Tom Brady, and Tony Robbins.
Brilliant. What would be on the menu for you four guys?
I'm a big fan of steak, so let's start with that.
Very good. Final question before I let you go. If your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
I think growth. I'm really in a growing phase where I'm building a lot of things, and probably growth.
Brilliant. If there's anyone listening that wants to find you on social media, where's the best place to follow you?
Yeah, at Aaron J. Golub on Instagram and Twitter. My website is just aarongolub.com. And, I always say this, look, if I can help in any way, feel free to send me a DM. My email is aaron@aarongolub.com. I can't promise I'll respond today or tomorrow, but I will respond. So, if I can help at all, let me know.
Brilliant. Thanks a million for coming on, Aaron. I really appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank you.
A massive thank you to Aaron for joining me on the podcast today. I'll be sure to leave all of his social media links in the description box below. If you are enjoying the podcast and the leadership series, I would love to get your feedback over on Instagram or email me at thesidelinelive@gmail.com. I would also really appreciate if you could leave a rating and a review over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as it does help the show grow. Thank you as always for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.